What would you do if your husband let you die? 23 missed calls, his wife bleeding out, his twins dying inside her. And where was he celebrating with his pregnant mistress? But here is the twist. The man who saved her was his worst enemy, a billionaire with secrets of his own. This is not just a story about betrayal. This is about a woman who rose from the ashes and destroyed the man who tried to bury her. Trust me, the ending will give you chills. Like this video if you believe in karma. Subscribe if you want more stories where the villain gets exactly what they deserve. At 3:17 in the morning, Meredith Calloway Ashford woke to a pain that felt like her body was being torn apart from the inside. She reached across the cold sheets, searching for her husband in the darkness. Her fingers found only empty space where Garrett should have been sleeping. The pain hit again, sharper this time. Something was wrong. At 32 weeks pregnant with twins, she knew every normal ache and stretch of her body. This was not normal. This was her body screaming a warning. Meredith grabbed her phone from the nightstand. The screen glowed in the darkness as she dialed Garrett's number. It rang once, twice, 3 times, then went to voicemail. His cheerful recorded voice filled the silent bedroom. "Hey, this is Garrett Ashford. Leave a message." She tried again. Voicemail. The third wave of pain made her cry out. Something warm and wet spread beneath her. Meredith forced herself to look down, forced herself to see what she already knew. Blood. Too much blood, soaking through her nightgown, spreading across the white sheets like a crimson tide. She did not call Garrett again. Instead, she dialed 911. "My name is Meredith Ashford. I am 32 weeks pregnant with twins. I am bleeding heavily. My address is 47 Willow Creek Drive. Please hurry." The dispatcher's calm voice guided her through the next 8 minutes. "Keep breathing. Stay on the line. Help is coming." Meredith pressed her hand against her swollen belly, feeling the babies move inside her. Still alive. Still fighting. Just like their mother. The ambulance arrived with sirens that split the quiet neighborhood. 2 paramedics rushed through the front door she had managed to unlock before collapsing on the foyer floor. A woman with kind eyes and steady hands knelt beside her. "Mrs. Ashford, I am paramedic Diane Crawford. We are going to take care of you. Can you tell me when the bleeding started? 8 minutes ago. Maybe 10. The babies? Please save my babies." They loaded her onto a stretcher. The ceiling of her beautiful home passed overhead. The crystal chandelier Garrett had insisted on buying. The crown molding he said made them look successful. All of it meant nothing now. Only the 2 lives inside her mattered. In the ambulance, Diane started an IV line while her partner drove. Meredith watched the needle slide into her vein, felt the cold rush of fluids entering her bloodstream. Her phone sat clutched in her hand. She tried Garrett one more time. Voicemail. "Is there someone we can call for you?" Diane asked. "Your husband. He is not answering." "Anyone else? Family? A friend, Whitney?" "Call Whitney Brennan. She works at County General Emergency Room." The hospital appeared through the ambulance windows, a fortress of fluorescent lights against the dark sky. They wheeled Meredith through automatic doors that whooshed open like the gates of some desperate sanctuary. The smell hit her first. Antiseptic, old coffee, fear. The sounds came next. Beeping monitors, hurried footsteps, voices calling codes she did not understand. A familiar face appeared above her. Whitney, still in her nursing scrubs from a double shift, her eyes wide with terror. Meredith. "Oh my God, what happened? Where is Garrett? I do not know. He was not home. He is not answering his phone." Whitney's expression shifted from fear to something darker, something knowing. But there was no time for questions. A doctor appeared, middle-aged with silver-streaked hair and the calm authority of someone who had seen the worst and learned to fight it. "I am Dr. Lorraine Fisher. Mrs. Ashford, you are experiencing placental abruption. That means your placenta is separating from your uterine wall. Your babies are not getting oxygen. We need to do an emergency cesarean section right now." The words hit Meredith like physical blows. Separating. Not getting oxygen. Emergency. My babies. Her voice cracked. "They are only 32 weeks. They are fighters. We need you to be a fighter too." Dr. Fisher squeezed her hand. "I need consent for surgery. Is your husband here?" Whitney answered for her. "He is not answering. I have called him 6 times. Keep trying." Dr. Fisher looked at Meredith. "Mrs. Ashford, I need you to sign the consent forms." Meredith signed with a shaking hand. The pen left blood smears on the paper. Her blood. Her baby's blood. As they wheeled her toward the operating room, she heard Whitney's voice on the phone, tight with desperation. "Garrett, this is Whitney Brennan. Your wife is at County General. She is dying. Your babies are dying. Answer your phone." The operating room was cold and bright. Masked faces surrounded her. Someone explained they were giving her medication, that she would feel pressure but no pain. Meredith stared at the ceiling tiles, counting them, trying to stay present. "Where is my husband?" No one answered. The monitors began screaming. Dr. Fisher's voice rose above the chaos. "We are losing baby A's heartbeat. I need that incision now." Someone shouted about blood pressure dropping. Someone else called for more units. Meredith felt her body going cold, her vision narrowing to a single point of light. "Stay with us, Miss Ashford." Dr. Fisher's face appeared above her mask. "Stay with your babies." The last thing Meredith heard before the darkness took her was a new voice. A man's voice, cold and commanding, cutting through the chaos like a blade. "I am signing whatever needs to be signed. Move." She did not know the voice, she did not see the face, but somehow, impossibly, she felt safe. And then she felt nothing at all. Dominic Reeves stood in the hospital hallway, his $3,000 suit wrinkled, his dark hair disheveled from running his hands through it. He had been at a business dinner when Whitney Brennan called. The woman he barely knew, friend of a woman he barely knew, begging for help because Garrett Ashford could not be bothered to answer his phone. 17 times. Whitney had told him. 17 calls, and he sent me to voicemail on every single one, brother. Dominic had driven 90 miles per hour to get here. Not for Meredith. Not really. He barely knew her. A charity gala 6 months ago. A brief conversation. A business card he gave her because something in her eyes told him she might need an escape route someday. He had not expected the escape would be from death itself. The operating room doors swung open. Dr. Fisher emerged, pulling down her surgical mask. Her expression was unreadable. "They are alive. All three of them." Dominic's knees nearly buckled. He caught himself on the wall, disguising the weakness as a casual lean. The babies, twin girl and boy. 4 pounds, 2 ounces, and 4 pounds even. They are in the NICU, but they are breathing on their own. Dr. Fisher studied him. "Mr. Reeves, I need to ask, what is your relationship to Mrs. Ashford? Until tonight." "Nothing. I gave her my business card at a charity event. Her friend called me because her husband would not answer." Dr. Fisher nodded slowly. "The husband who was not there. No, he was not there. Something passed between them. An understanding, a judgment. She lost a lot of blood." Dr. Fisher continued. "The next 24 hours are critical. But she is strong, and those babies are fighters." After the doctor left, Dominic walked to the NICU. Through the window, he could see 2 incubators side by side. Inside them, impossibly small, 2 human beings who had almost died because their father chose champagne over phone calls. His phone buzzed. His assistant Marcus. "I am still at the restaurant. Derek Ashford just left. He was here all night with a woman. She is pregnant too. Looks about 6 months along." Dominic closed his eyes. "Get me everything. Every receipt, every photo, every piece of evidence. I want to know what Garrett Ashford had for breakfast 3 years ago. On it, boss." Dominic hung up and stared at the babies through the glass. His daughter Rosalind had been in an incubator just like these. 5 years ago. Different hospital. Same helpless feeling. She had lived 6 days before her heart gave out. These 2 would live longer. Dominic would make sure of it. Because someone should. And he was the one who showed up. Meredith woke to beeping. Different beeping than before. Steadier. Calmer. Her eyelids felt like they weighed 1,000 pounds each. She forced them open, blinking against the harsh fluorescent lights. The babies. Her voice came out like sandpaper. Whitney's face appeared above her. "You did it, Meredith. 2 beautiful babies. Charlotte and Benjamin. They are fighters." Relief crashed over her so hard she could not breathe. Charlotte. Benjamin. The names she had chosen. They were alive. They were real. "Where are they? I want to see them. Soon. You lost a lot of blood. The doctors want you stable first." Whitney squeezed her hand. "But they are okay. 4 pounds each. Breathing on their own. The doctors are amazed. Meredith tried to sit up. Pain screamed through her abdomen where they had cut her open. She fell back against the pillows. Where is Garrett? Whitney's face changed. Something shuddered behind her eyes. Something dark and terrible. Meredith, we should wait until you are stronger. Where is my husband? Whitney, I stretched between them like a wire pulled too tight. Whitney pulled out Meredith's phone, her hands shaking as she turned the screen toward her friend. One text message, sent at 3:42 in the morning, while Meredith was on the operating table, while her babies were being cut from her body, while she bled out under surgical lights. The message was from Garrett. 4 words that destroyed 8 years of marriage. I cannot do this anymore. Meredith read it twice, 3 times, tried to make the words mean something other than what they meant. There is more. Whitney's voice was barely a whisper. I am so sorry, Meredith, but there is more. Allah. She scrolled down. A photo appeared. Garrett sitting at an expensive restaurant, candlelight glowing on his handsome face. Beside him, a woman Meredith recognized. Sloan Whitmore, his executive assistant, the woman he had called mousy and forgettable at the company Christmas party. Sloan was not mousy in this photo. She was radiant, and she was pregnant, her belly swollen beneath a designer dress. At least 6 months along. Garrett's hand rested on that belly. Both of them smiled at the camera like they did not have a care in the world. The timestamp on the photo showed 3:15 in the morning. 2 minutes before Meredith woke up in a pool of her own blood. Whitney's voice cut through the fog. Dominic Reeves. He is the one who showed up at the hospital. His assistant took these pictures. Garrett was at that restaurant the entire time you were dying. He ignored every phone call because he was celebrating with her. Meredith did the math in her head. 6 months pregnant. Garrett had gotten Sloan pregnant when Meredith was only 3 months along with the twins. He had known about Charlotte and Benjamin. He had watched Meredith plan a nursery, buy 2 of everything, cry happy tears at ultrasound appointments. And the whole time, he was building another family behind her back. He knew. The words came from somewhere cold inside her. He knew I was pregnant, and he got her pregnant anyway. Yes. How many calls? The question felt important somehow. How many times did people try to reach him? Whitney's jaw tightened. 23. Hospital staff? Me. His mother. 23 calls, and he answered none of them. 23 phone calls while she coded on an operating table. 23 chances to choose his family. 23 opportunities for Garrett Ashford to prove he was the man Meredith had believed him to be. He had chosen champagne instead. Something shifted inside Meredith. Not breaking exactly. Transforming. The grief was there, massive and suffocating. But underneath it, something else was growing. Something harder. Something that felt like armor being forged in fire. The door opened. A man appeared. Tall, dark-haired, wearing a rumpled suit that probably cost more than Meredith's car. Dominic Reeves, Garrett's biggest business rival. The man her husband had called that tech vulture at every opportunity. Mrs. Ashford? He nodded at her. I apologize for intruding. I wanted to see how you were doing. You were here. Meredith studied his face, looking for the catch, the angle. Everyone had an angle. Why? Because someone should have been, and your husband chose not to be. Why do you care? You do not know me. You hate Garrett. Dominic's expression flickered. Something old and wounded crossed his features before he locked it away. 5 years ago, I sat in a hospital room just like this one. My daughter was in the NICU. She was born at 30 weeks. Her mother had already left. I had no one. Dominic's voice went flat, emotionless. The way people speak when the feelings are too big to let out. She lived 6 days. I swore that if I ever saw someone alone like that, I would show up. So I did. The words hit Meredith somewhere deep. This man was not trying to save her. He was trying to save someone he could not save 5 years ago. I am sorry about your daughter. So am I. He straightened. Your babies are beautiful. I have been sitting with them. I hope that was acceptable. You have been sitting with my babies. Someone should be there. Dominic shrugged like it was nothing. Like spending hours watching over a stranger's newborns was just something people did. They know your voice. You should go to them as soon as you can. After he left, Meredith turned to Whitney. Get me a wheelchair. The doctor said you need rest. I will rest when I am dead. Those are my children. I almost died bringing them into this world. I am seeing them now. Whitney did not argue. 20 minutes later, Meredith sat in a wheelchair, being pushed through hallways that smelled like antiseptic and fear. Every bump sent pain shooting through her abdomen. She did not care. The NICU doors opened. A nurse smiled at her. "Mrs. Ashford, your babies are beautiful." They wheeled her to two incubators side by side, and there they were, Charlotte Rowan and Benjamin James. Impossibly tiny, impossibly perfect. Tubes and wires covered their fragile bodies, but their chests rose and fell steadily. Fighters, just like Dr. Fisher had said. "Can I touch them?" "Of course. Let me help you." The nurse helped Meredith scrub her hands and put on a sterile gown. Then she opened the incubator ports. Meredith reached inside, her fingers trembling as they brushed Charlotte's impossibly soft skin. The baby's eyes opened, dark, alert, knowing. "Hi, baby girl." Meredith's voice broke. "Hi, Charlotte. I am your mama. I am so sorry I could not hold you right away. I am so sorry." Charlotte's tiny hand wrapped around Meredith's finger. That grip, impossibly strong or something so small, cracked Meredith's chest open. Not from pain, from love so huge it felt like dying and being reborn at the same time. She moved to Benjamin's incubator. Same process, same result. His eyes opened too, same dark alertness, same immediate recognition. "Hi, Benjamin. Hi, sweet boy. Mama's here now. Mama is here." Both babies gripped her fingers. Both refused to let go. And in that moment, surrounded by beeping monitors and humming machinery, holding two tiny humans who had almost died because their father could not be bothered to answer his phone, Meredith made a decision. She would not cry. She would not beg Garrett to come back. She would not make herself small and broken and easy to discard. She would burn him to the ground. 3 days after the night that almost killed her, Meredith sat in her hospital bed with a laptop balanced on her knees. Whitney had smuggled it in against doctor's orders. The babies were stable, gaining weight, learning to feed. Now Meredith had work to do. She started with a cloud storage account she and Garrett shared. His password pattern had not changed in 8 years. His college jersey number, 17, plus his mother's birthday, 0309. He was nothing if not predictable. The account opened, revealing folders she had never explored. Bills, taxes, property documents, normal marriage things. But beneath them, hidden in a folder labeled Old Projects, she found a second email address, one she had never seen before. Garrett, Ashford, private. Her fingers hesitated over the keyboard. Whatever was in there would change everything. Once she saw it, she could not unsee it. She clicked. 18 months of emails unfolded before her. Messages to Sloan Whitmore going back to before Meredith even knew she was pregnant. Photographs, plans, promises. "I cannot wait to start our real life together." Garrett had written 6 months ago. "Just have to handle the situation with Meredith first. She will fight, but I have everything planned." The situation, that was what she was. Not a wife, not a partner, a situation to be handled. Meredith kept digging. Financial documents next. Bank statements from accounts she had never known existed. Transfers to offshore holdings totaling $847,000. Her signature on withdrawal forms. Except she had never signed those forms. She looked closer. The signature was good, close to her handwriting, but not quite right. The M in Meredith was too swooping. The way she crossed her T was wrong. Forgery. Her husband had forged her signature to steal from their joint accounts. She photographed everything, saved copies to 3 different locations. Her personal email, Whitney's email, a thumb drive she asked a nurse to buy from the hospital gift shop. If Garrett thought he could erase the evidence, he was wrong. Her phone buzzed. An unknown number. "Mrs. Ashford, this is Theodore Marsh. We went to Northwestern together. I do not know if you remember me." Teddy Meredith searched her memory. Quiet guy, pre-law. They had been study partners for statistics class. "I remember. Why are you calling? I saw the news. Someone leaked that Dominic Reeves was involved in a medical emergency at County General. It did not take much digging to find out you were involved. I am a divorce attorney now, specialized in financial fraud cases. I have not decided if I want a divorce." The pause on the other end told her everything. "Meredith, I also found something else during my digging. Garrett filed incorporation papers for a new company last month. Sole proprietor. No mention of marital assets. He is moving money somewhere you cannot touch it. She closed her eyes. Of course he was. Garrett never did anything without a backup plan. I also found bank accounts in your name that you did not open. Theodore continued. Credit cards with your signature. Meredith, whatever he is doing, it is big. And it is criminal. How much total debt in your name? $2.3 million. The number made no sense. Could not make sense. She had never signed for any debt. She had barely signed for the mortgage. That is not possible. Forgery, identity theft, wire fraud. He has been building this for at least 2 years. Theodore's voice went hard. This is not just divorce. Meredith, this is federal crime. Meredith stared at her laptop screen. 847,000 stolen. 2.3 million in fraudulent debt. Her entire life was a lie built on documents she had never signed. Can you help me? I can do better than help. I can destroy him. Legally, methodically, completely. Then do it. She hung up and turned to find Whitney standing in the doorway. How much did you hear? Enough. Whitney sat on the edge of the bed. Dominic is here. He wants to talk. I do not need his help. Maybe not, but he has information you do. Meredith hesitated. Every instinct screamed to handle this alone. The last man who had offered to make things easy had stolen 8 years of her life. But information was different than help. Information was a weapon she could wield herself. Send him in. Dominic appeared 5 minutes later, carrying 2 cups of coffee from the cafe downstairs. He handed one to Meredith without asking if she wanted it. You look better than yesterday. I found out my husband stole almost $1 million and put me $2.3 million in debt. So no, I do not feel better. Dominic's expression did not change. Then you found what I was going to tell you. You knew my investigators have been digging for 3 days. Garrett's company is hemorrhaging money. Has been for 2 years. Bad investments. Gambling debts. Lifestyle he could not afford. He has been using your credit to keep himself afloat. Meredith's coffee burned her tongue. She welcomed the pain. It was something real in a world that had become nothing but lies. There is more. Dominic sat in the chair beside her bed. Sloan Whitmore comes from money. Old money. Her family owns half of Connecticut. Garrett is not just having an affair. He is planning his next meal ticket. He gets Sloan pregnant, positions himself as the devoted father of her child, divorces you with nothing, and marries into wealth. So I was never the prize. She laughed bitterly. I was just the stepping stone. You were the practice wife, the one he learned on before moving to someone richer. The words should have hurt. Instead, they clarified everything. Garrett had never loved her. He had used her, learned what he needed to learn, and when someone better came along, he threw her away like garbage. I do not need your money. Meredith met his eyes. I do not want your lawyers. I do not want you to fix this for me. Then what do you want information? Everything you know about Garrett's business, his weaknesses, his enemies. Consider it enemy intelligence. Dominic studied her for a long moment. Something like respect flickered across his features. Partners, not savior and victim. Partners, I make the decisions about my life. Deal. He pulled files from his briefcase and spread them across her bed. Financial records, business dealings, a list of people Garrett had wronged over the years. It was all there, everything she needed to burn her husband to the ground. Meredith started reading. 2 weeks after the night that almost killed her. Meredith set her trap. The hospital had become her war room. Charlotte and Benjamin were thriving, gaining weight every day, learning to feed without tubes. Meredith spent her days in the NICU and her nights planning her husband's destruction. Theodore Marsh had filed preliminary divorce papers. Dominic's investigators had compiled a mountain of evidence. But Meredith wanted more. She wanted Garrett's confession on tape. He thinks I am broken. She told Whitney the night before the meeting, desperate, willing to do anything to save my marriage. Let him believe it. You are playing a dangerous game. No. Meredith looked at her sleeping babies through the NICU window. He is playing a dangerous game. He just does not know I am a better player. Garrett arrived at the hospital the next afternoon. He wore a charcoal suit, perfectly pressed. His hair was styled. His smile was practiced. He looked like a man attending a business meeting, not visiting the wife and children he had abandoned. Meredith met him in a private waiting room on the 3rd floor. She had dressed carefully, Tired clothes, no makeup, hair unwashed. She wanted to look beaten. Garrett. Her voice trembled perfectly. Thank you for coming. Of course. He did not reach for her, did not ask about the babies. I know things have been difficult. Difficult. She let out a small laugh. That is one word for it. He sat across from her, maintaining distance. Meredith noticed. She noticed everything now. I got your text, she said quietly, about not being able to do this anymore. What did you mean? Garrett's mask flickered. For just a moment, something real appeared beneath the charm. Irritation, inconvenience, the look of a man who had hoped his problems would just go away. Our marriage has not been working for a long time. Meredith, you know that. She did not know that. She had thought they were happy, but she nodded like his words made sense. Is there someone else? Now came the performance. Garrett's face arranged itself into something resembling remorse. I never meant to hurt you. Is there someone else? Garrett, yes. He said it like it cost him something, like admitting it was some great sacrifice. Sloan, I fell in love with her. I could not help it. Meredith's phone sat in her pocket, recording everything. She pressed on. And the money, Theodore Marsh says there are accounts I never opened, debts I never signed for. That was for us. Garrett leaned forward, selling the lie for our future. The business was struggling. I had to make some decisions quickly. I did not want to worry you. You forged my signature. I had power of attorney. You signed it years ago. She had never signed any power of attorney, but she kept her face confused, helpless. I do not understand any of this. Her voice cracked. I almost died. Garrett, our babies almost died, and you were not there. I know, and I am sorry. He did not sound sorry. He sounded like a man trying to close a deal. But we need to be practical now. The divorce does not have to be ugly. I am willing to be fair. Fair. You keep the house. I take the business. We split custody of the twins. The words hit like blows. Split custody. He wanted access to Charlotte and Benjamin. Not because he loved them, because children were leverage. Children were assets. Meredith wanted to scream, wanted to tell him she knew everything, that his days of manipulation were numbered. Instead, she nodded. I need to think about it. Of course. Take your time. Garrett stood, clearly satisfied with himself. I will have my lawyer send over a proposal. We can handle this like adults. After he left, Meredith pulled out her phone, checked the recording, clear as day, his admission of the affair, his acknowledgement of the forged documents, his offer to take the business, which admitted he considered it valuable. She sent the file to Theodore immediately. I have him. His response came 3 minutes later. I am filing emergency motions tonight, asset freeze and full financial disclosure. By tomorrow morning, Garrett will not be able to move a dime without court approval. Meredith allowed herself one moment of victory, one breath of relief. She had done it, trapped him with his own words. The victory lasted exactly 4 hours. Theodore called at 9 that evening. His voice was wrong, tight, controlled. We have a problem. What kind of problem? Garrett's lawyer filed a preemptive motion this afternoon. Before your meeting, he is claiming the recording is inadmissible. What it is, a one-party consent state, I can record my own conversations. Not on hospital property. There is a state law about recordings in medical facilities. Privacy protections for patients. Garrett's lawyer is arguing the recording violates those protections. Meredith's stomach dropped. That cannot be right. It gets worse. The motion also argues that your evidence gathering, the cloud storage access, constitutes illegal surveillance of your spouse. They are framing you as the aggressor, the obsessive wife who hacked her husband's accounts and recorded him without permission. But he stole from me. He forged my signature. And we cannot prove it now, not without evidence that the court will actually admit. Theodore's voice went heavy. They are also filing for emergency custody evaluation. They are claiming you are mentally unstable, postpartum psychosis. The room spun. Meredith grabbed the edge of her bed. He is using my motherhood against me. His lawyer is arguing that your evidence gathering proves you are paranoid, delusional, unable to care for newborns. I saved copies. I have everything. Everything he can now argue is fruit of the poisonous tree. Theodore paused. Meredith, I am sorry. He outmaneuvered us. His lawyer knew exactly what you would do and prepared for it. The phone fell from her hand. All that work, all that planning. And Garrett had seen it coming. Had let her think she was winning while he built his counterattack. She had set a trap and walked right into his. The eviction notice arrived 3 days later. Meredith stood in the doorway of the house she had called home for 6 years, holding the paper that said she had 30 days to leave. Garrett had frozen the joint accounts. Her personal savings, what little she had kept separate, totaled $3,200. The house was in Garrett's name alone. He had convinced her to sign a quit-claim deed 2 years ago. For tax purposes, he had said, to protect their assets. She had trusted him, and now she owned nothing. The babies were ready to leave the hospital. Charlotte and Benjamin had gained enough weight, learned to eat well enough. The doctors wanted to discharge them, but Meredith had nowhere to take them. She sat in the NICU, holding both babies against her chest, and let herself cry for the first time since waking up in that hospital bed. Not quiet tears, not dignified grief. Ugly, gasping sobs that shook her whole body. I am sorry, she whispered to her children. I am so sorry. Mama does not know what to do. Charlotte's hand found her finger, held tight. Whitney appeared in the doorway. Her face was drawn, worried. The social worker wants to talk to you. The words sent ice through Meredith's veins. Social worker. They were going to take her babies. They were going to decide she was unfit. She wiped her face, tried to look like someone who was not falling apart. Send her in. The social worker was a woman in her 50s named Dorothy Fletcher. She had kind eyes and a soft voice, and the particular look of someone who had seen too much suffering. Mrs. Ashford, I understand you are facing some housing challenges. Challenges. Meredith almost laughed. That was one word for homelessness. Yes, we need to discuss your discharge plan. Hospital policy requires us to ensure newborns are going to a safe environment. Where do you intend to take the babies? I am working on that. Do you have family who can help? My mother lives in a studio apartment in Florida. She cannot take 3 of us. Friends, Whitney's place is 300 square feet. She has a roommate. Dorothy Fletcher wrote something in her notebook. Meredith watched the pen move, knowing that whatever was being written would determine her children's fate. Mrs. Ashford, I want to help you, but I also have to think about Charlotte and Benjamin. If you cannot demonstrate stable housing, you cannot take my babies. That is not what I am suggesting. But it was what she was suggesting. They both knew it. If Meredith could not provide housing, the state would step in. Temporary foster care. They would call it, just until you get on your feet. But Meredith knew how temporary became permanent, knew how quickly the system could devour a mother fighting impossible odds. Please, Meredith hated begging, hated how small her voice sounded. Give me more time. I will figure something out. I can give you 72 hours. Dorothy Fletcher's voice was gentle but firm. After that, I have to follow protocol. 3 days. Meredith had 3 days to find a home for herself and 2 newborns, with $3,000 and no job. She was going to lose her children. The thought hit her like a physical blow. Garrett was going to win, not because he was right or good or deserving, but because he had money and lawyers and a system designed to favor men like him. Meredith held her babies tighter and felt something inside her crack. I will not let this happen, she told them. I will not let him take you from me. But she did not know how to stop it. That evening, Dominic Reeves appeared at the hospital. He found Meredith in the chapel, which was the only place she could go to be alone. She sat in a pew staring at stained glass windows that showed scenes of hope and redemption she no longer believed in. Whitney told me what happened. He sat beside her, leaving space between them. I have a guest house, separate building, no strings. Everyone will say I am sleeping with you. They are already saying that. Garrett's lawyer released a statement implying it this afternoon. Of course he did. Meredith laughed bitterly. So either I am homeless, or I am the woman who ran to another man before the divorce was even filed. You are the woman who is trying to protect her children. Dominic's voice hardened. Everything else is noise. Why do you care so much? The question burst out of her. Why are you doing all of this? You barely know me. Because Garrett Ashford destroyed my merger 3 years ago with lies and manipulation. Because his family's company covered up the medication error that killed my daughter. Because I want him ruined, and you want him ruined. And that makes us useful to each other. Meredith stared at him. Rosalind, your daughter. She had a heart defect. The doctors prescribed a medication to help, but there was a problem with the formula, a defect the manufacturer knew about and hid. By the time anyone realized, it was too late. Dominic's jaw tightened. Garrett's family owns 40% of that pharmaceutical company. They buried the investigation, paid off the officials. My daughter died, and they called it a tragic accident. You have been planning revenge for 5 years. I have been waiting for the right opportunity. His eyes met hers. You are that opportunity. But that does not mean I do not also want to help. Both things can be true. Meredith considered. A guest house was not dependence. It was strategy. A roof over her head bought her time. Time to rebuild. Time to fight. Partners. She said finally, not charity. I pay rent when I can. I make my own decisions. You do not get to rescue me. Partners. Dominic agreed. And Meredith, you are not a victim anymore. You are a weapon. Start acting like it. She moved into the guest house the next day. Charlotte and Benjamin came home from the hospitals to a space that was small but safe. Their first night in a real home was spent in a borrowed crib with borrowed blankets. But they were together. They were alive. And Meredith was just getting started. 8 weeks after the night that almost killed her, Meredith hired a private investigator. His name was Russell Vance, ex-FBI, 15 years of experience, a reputation for finding things that did not want to be found. She paid his retainer with money she earned selling her wedding ring. I want everything on Garrett Ashford. She told him in their first meeting, every woman he has hurt, every dollar he has stolen, every lie he has told. That is a lot of digging. Then start digging. Russell came back 2 weeks later with a file 2 inches thick. Your husband has a pattern. He spread photographs across Meredith's kitchen table. 3 other women before you. Same playbook every time. Charm, marriage, financial manipulation, abandonment. 3 other women. The first was named Victoria Dennison, married Garrett when he was 24, divorced 2 years later. She claimed he forged documents to access her trust fund. The family paid to make it go away. What happened to her? She killed herself 6 months after the divorce. The room went cold. Meredith thought of Sloan, thought of herself, thought of how close she had come to that same darkness. The second was named Laura Prescott. Russell continued. Never married him, but they were engaged. She broke it off when she caught him stealing from her business. He destroyed her reputation in retaliation. She lost everything. Bankruptcy, depression. Last I heard, she was living in a shelter in Rhode Island, and the third a woman named Rachel Holloway. She was smarter than the others. Got out early, but not before he took $40,000 and her sense of safety. She moved to Oregon, changed her name. Russell looked at Meredith. She is willing to talk. So is Laura. Victoria's sister has been waiting for someone to listen. Meredith stared at the photographs. 4 women, 4 lives destroyed or damaged by the same man. She was not special. She was not unique. She was just the latest in a pattern that had been going on for 15 years. Can they testify if you can convince them to come forward? Russell paused. There is one more thing. Garrett's first wife, Victoria, her death was ruled a suicide, but her sister has always believed otherwise. There were bruises, inconsistencies. The investigation was shut down too quickly. You think he killed her? I think he drove her to it, which, in my book, is the same thing. The next day, Sloan Whitmore called. Meredith met her in a parking garage downtown. Both of them paranoid about being followed. Sloan looked terrible. Dark circles under her eyes. Hands shaking. 7 months pregnant now. Invisibly terrified. He is lying to me, too. Sloan's voice cracked. I found a prenup he has been hiding. If we get married, I get nothing. Nothing. Just like you. Why are you telling me this? Because I finally looked at the bank statements, at the credit card bills. She met Meredith's eyes. I know what he did to you. I know about the forgeries. And I think he is planning to do the same thing to me. He targets women with money or potential for money, Meredith said, uses them up, moves on. What do? We work together, share information, build a case so strong that no judge, no lawyer, No amount of money can make it go away. Sloan nodded slowly. I have recordings. Garrett talking about you, about how he convinced the doctors you were crazy, about the forged signatures. He brags about it, like it is a game. Can you get those to Theodore Marsh? Yes. Then you are not his victim anymore. You are his undoing. 2 weeks later, the first custody hearing arrived. Meredith walked into the courthouse feeling like she was going to war. Theodore had prepared everything. Hospital records proving Garrett's abandonment, testimony from Dr. Fisher, statements from the previous victims, Sloan's recordings, evidence that Constance Ashford had helped forge the psychiatric evaluation. The judge was a woman named Patricia Winters. Gray hair, sharp eyes, the kind of face that had seen every lie a desperate person could tell. Your Honor, Theodore began. This case is about a father who abandoned his wife and newborn children during a medical emergency, then used fraud and manipulation to try to steal custody. Preston Hale, Garrett's lawyer, objected. Speculation, inflammatory language. Overruled. Judge Winters looked at Garrett. I will hear the evidence. The evidence took 3 hours to present. The recordings, the bank statements, the testimony of 3 other victims who had come forward despite their fear. By the end, Preston Hale's confidence had visibly cracked. Judge Winters ruled that afternoon. Temporary custody to Mrs. Ashford. Mr. Ashford will have supervised visitation only, pending full investigation of the fraud allegations. Meredith allowed herself one moment of hope, walked out of the courthouse feeling like she had finally won. That night, she had dinner with Dominic. Real dinner. Conversation that was not about strategy or revenge or survival. For 3 hours, she let herself be a person again. Someone who could laugh, someone who might, someday, be capable of happiness. He walked her to the guest house door. They stood in the warm evening air, close but not touching. Thank you, she said. For all of this, you did the work. I just provided resources. It is more than that. Their eyes met. Something shifted. Meredith felt her heart quicken in a way it had not in years. She leaned forward. He leaned forward. The phone rang. It was Theodore. His voice was wrong. Garrett's lawyer just released a statement to the press. They have evidence that Dominic has been paying your legal bills. They are claiming you two have been having an affair since before the separation. And they have documents showing Dominic offered you a $500,000 consulting contract. That is not true. It does not matter if it is true. It matters what they can make people believe. There are photos of you at his house. There are financial transfers. They are building a narrative. Meredith's victory crumbled in her hands. There is more, Theodore continued. Dominic's file on Garrett, the one about his daughter's death. Garrett's lawyers found out about it. They are claiming Dominic has been manipulating you to pursue a personal vendetta. Meredith turned to face Dominic. He had heard enough. His face had gone pale. Is it true, she asked. Have you been paying my legal bills? Theodore works cheap for clients he believes in. But yes, I covered what he could not. The consulting contract, I created it as a backup. In case you needed legitimate income to show the court, I never intended to actually use it. But they found it. They are using it. She stepped back from him. You have been managing me, just like Garrett did, making decisions about my life without telling me. I was trying to protect you. I do not need protection. I need honesty. She walked into the guest house, closed the door, stood alone in the darkness with her sleeping babies in the ruins of another victory. Dominic had lied to her, maybe for good reasons, maybe with good intentions, but the result was the same. She was alone again. The emergency custody hearing came 3 days later. Garrett's lawyers argued that Meredith had deceived the court about her living situation, that she was cohabiting with a man who had financial ties to her case, that the previous ruling was based on incomplete information. Judge Winters listened. Her face was unreadable. Mrs. Ashford, is it true you have been living in a property owned by Dominic Reeves? Yes, Your Honor. It is a separate guest house. There is no romantic relationship. Can you prove that Meredith hesitated? How did you prove a negative? How did you demonstrate the absence of something that had never existed? I can testify under oath. Preston Hale smiled. We have a psychiatric evaluation performed by Dr. Harold Morris. It indicates Mrs. Ashford is suffering from severe postpartum psychosis, including paranoid delusions and attachment disorders that render her unfit for primary custody. That evaluation is forged. Theodore objected. We have evidence that Dr. Morris never examined Mrs. Ashford. Then produce your evidence. We are working to obtain the records. Judge Winters shook her head. I cannot rule based on evidence you might obtain in the future. Based on what is before me today, I am modifying the custody arrangement. Primary custody will transfer to Mr. Ashford pending a full investigation. Mrs. Ashford will have supervised visitation. The words did not make sense. Could not make sense. Your Honor, you cannot do this. I can and I am. Judge Winters' voice was firm. Mrs. Ashford, I am not unsympathetic to your situation, but this court must prioritize the welfare of the children. Until the questions about your mental state and living situation are resolved, I believe they are safer with their father. Garrett's face split into a triumphant smile. Meredith wanted to scream, wanted to throw herself across the courtroom and tear that smile off his face. Instead, she sat frozen as the bailiff explained the transfer process. 2 hours. She had 2 hours to say goodbye to her children before they were taken away. The transfer happened in a sterile room with fluorescent lights. A social worker watched while Meredith held Charlotte and Benjamin for the last time. Mama will come back for you. She whispered, Mama will never stop fighting. I promise. Charlotte started crying. Benjamin's face crumpled. They knew. Somehow, impossibly, they knew they were being taken away. Garrett appeared in the doorway, ready. Meredith looked at him, at the man she had loved, the man who had destroyed her, the father who was stealing her children not because he wanted them, but because he wanted to win. This is not over. It is for now. He smiled. Maybe next time. Choose your allies more carefully. He took the babies from her arms. Charlotte screamed. Benjamin reached back toward Meredith, his tiny hands grabbing at air. Mama, Mama, I love you. Meredith's voice broke. I love you both so much. The door closed. They were gone. Meredith stood alone in that sterile room and felt something inside her die. Not the grief, not the anger, something softer, something that had still believed in fairness and justice and happy endings. That part of her was gone now. What remained was harder, colder, more dangerous. She walked outside, saw Dominic waiting by his car. I cannot help you right now. She said, he said, I cannot even look at you right now. Meredith, let me explain. You lied to me. You manipulated the situation. And now my children are gone. I never meant for this to happen. But it did happen. That is what matters. She walked past him, called Whitney for a ride, spent the night in her friend's tiny apartment, staring at the ceiling, listening to the silence where her babies should have been. The next morning, the news broke. Dominic Reeves had released a statement denying any romantic involvement with Meredith Ashford. His lawyers issued a cease and desist against her, claiming she had misrepresented their relationship to gain access to his resources. He had abandoned her to save himself. Whitney showed her the news on her phone, Arsoya. Meredith read the words 3 times before they sank in. He threw you under the bus. He protected his reputation. Same thing. That afternoon, Constance Ashford released her own statement. To the media. To everyone who would listen. This poor woman is clearly disturbed. Photographs of Meredith looking terrible. Taken during her worst moments. Psychiatric records that had to be forged. Showing diagnoses she had never received. My son tried to help her, but she became obsessed with another man. These babies deserve a stable home. The internet turned against her overnight. She probably drove him to cheat. Someone commented, those poor babies. Another wrote, thank God they are with their father now. Gold digger looking for a bigger wallet. A third, Meredith's former employer called that evening. They were terminating her position effective immediately. Too much negative publicity. Bad for the brand. In 72 hours, she had lost everything. Her children, her ally, her reputation, her income. She was broke, alone, publicly destroyed. And then Garrett called. Sign over full custody. His voice was smug. And I will let you see them once a month. Fight me, and you will never see them again. Meredith held the phone, thought about everything she had lost, everything he had taken. And something in her shifted. Not broke, not beaten, transformed. You made one mistake. Garrett, her voice came out calm, deadly calm. What is that? You took my children. Now I have nothing to lose. She hung up, called a number she had saved for emergencies. Miss Quinn, this is Meredith Ashford. I have a story, and I have proof he cannot destroy. Mallory Quinn was a journalist with a reputation for taking down powerful men who thought they were untouchable. She had exposed 3 congressmen, 2 CEOs, and a televangelist. She was not afraid of Garrett Ashford or his lawyers. Tell me everything, she said, settling into the chair across from Meredith. And I mean everything. Meredith talked for 3 hours. The affair, the forgeries, the abandonment, the stolen money, the psychiatric evaluation that was clearly faked, the pattern of destroyed women stretching back 15 years, Victoria Dennison's suspicious death. Mallory took notes, asked questions, did not interrupt. When Meredith finished, the journalist sat back. This is explosive, but I need proof that will hold up. Not just your word against his. I have proof, and Meredith did. Physical copies, documents she had printed and hidden at her mother's apartment before Garrett knew she was investigating. Bank statements with forged signatures. Whitney had photographed everything the night Meredith was admitted to the hospital, before anyone knew what was happening. I need more, Mallory said. Witnesses who will go on camera. Documentation that cannot be disputed. Meredith called Russell Vance that night. The other women, the ones who came forward before. Will they talk? Russell made calls. Victoria Dennison's sister agreed first. Then Laura Prescott, who had lost everything. Then Rachel Holloway, who had been hiding for 5 years. All 3 were willing to tell their stories if it meant stopping Garrett, Jad, from hurting anyone else. One more call, the hardest one. Sloan answered on the second ring. He is going to destroy you too, Meredith said. You know that. I know. Help me stop him. Come forward with everything you have. Silence on the line. Then, quietly, I am 8 months pregnant with his child, and he will use that child against you the moment you are no longer useful, just like he used Charlotte and Benjamin against me. More silence. Then, what do you need? Everything. The recordings, the prenup, his burner phone, anything that proves what he really is. Sloan delivered it all the next day. Garrett's burner phone contained text messages that made Meredith's blood run cold. Messages about handling the situation with his first wife. Messages bragging about how easy it was to manipulate judges and lawyers and anyone who stood in his way. Messages to his mother coordinating the fake psychiatric evaluation. The puzzle was complete. Meredith called Dominic. He answered on the first ring. I know what you did, she said, and I understand why you did it. I never wanted to hurt you. I know, but you should have told me. You should have trusted me to handle the truth. I spent 5 years trying to control everything because I could not save Rosalind. Dominic's voice cracked. You are not someone to control. You are someone to stand then stand beside me now, not in front of me. Beside me. What do you need information about Garrett's SEC violations? Your investigators found something about fraudulent filings? I need that. You will have it tonight. And Dominic. This time, we do it my way. Full transparency. No more secrets. No more secrets. The alliance reformed, stronger this time, built on honesty instead of hidden agendas. Theodore Marsh filed new motions. The previous victims submitted sworn statements. Dr. Morris, who had written the fake psychiatric evaluation, was facing his own investigation after hospital records proved he had never examined Meredith. The trap was set, 3 days before Mallory Quinn's article was scheduled to drop. Meredith called a meeting with her team, Theodore, Russell, Whitney, Dominic. This has to happen all at once. She spread papers across the table. Criminal charges, civil suits, media exposure, SEC investigation, custody reversal. If we do one thing at a time, he will find a way to counter it. We hit him everywhere, simultaneously. That requires coordination. Theodore said, then we coordinate. Meredith's voice was steel. I am done being reactive, done being the victim. Garrett thought he was playing a game. He is about to learn that I am a better player. The plan came together over the next 72 hours. Federal prosecutors agreed to file charges. The SEC opened a formal investigation. 3 civil suits from previous victims were prepared. A new emergency custody motion was drafted, and Mallory Quinn's article was ready. Everything depended on timing, on every piece falling into place at exactly the right moment. On the morning of the operation, Meredith looked at herself in the mirror. She barely recognized the woman looking back. Not broken, not beaten, transformed. Charlotte, Benjamin. She whispered, "Mama is coming." She walked out the door and went to war. The article dropped at 6 in the morning. The wife he left for dead. Inside Garrett Ashford's trail of destroyed women, Mallory Quinn had written a masterpiece. 15 years of lies and manipulation laid bare. 4 women speaking on camera. Bank statements, forged documents, text messages from Garrett's burner phone bragging about how easy it was to control the system. Within an hour, the hashtag Justice for Meredith was trending nationally. Meredith watched from Theodore's office as her story went viral. Not the story Garrett and Constance had crafted. The real story. The truth. It is working. Whitney squeezed her hand. People are listening. They are more than listening. Theodore looked up from his phone. Garrett's company lost 3 major clients in the last hour. His stock is in freefall. At 8:30, federal agents arrived at Garrett Ashford's office building. The arrest was captured by news cameras that Mallory had tipped off in advance. Garrett emerged in handcuffs. His perfect suit was rumpled. His perfect hair was disheveled. His perfect mask had cracked, revealing the terrified man underneath. "This is a misunderstanding," he shouted at the cameras. "I have not done anything wrong." But the evidence said otherwise. Successive violations, wire fraud, identity theft, conspiracy to commit financial crimes. The list of charges stretched on for 3 pages. Meredith stood across the street, not approaching, not gloating, just watching. Garrett's eyes found her in the crowd. For a moment, their gazes locked. She did not speak, did not need to. Her presence said everything. "I did this. You thought you destroyed me, but I destroyed you." Constance Ashford was arrested 2 hours later. The evidence against her was damning. Forged psychiatric evaluations, conspiracy to defraud, obstruction of justice. The society matriarch who had told Meredith to know her place was photographed in handcuffs, her perfectly styled hair falling into her face. The emergency custody hearing convened that afternoon. Judge Patricia Winters had seen the news, reviewed the evidence. Her expression was thunderous. Garrett Ashford appeared via video link from federal holding. His lawyer Preston Hale was absent, having been served with disbarment papers that morning for ethics violations. "Mr. Ashford," Judge Winters' voice was ice. "The evidence before this court indicates a systematic pattern of fraud, manipulation, and abuse, not just against your current wife, but against multiple women over 15 years. Your Honor, I can explain. You will have the opportunity to explain to a federal judge. For now, sir, I am reversing my previous custody ruling. Full custody is awarded to Meredith Ashford. You will have no visitation rights pending the outcome of your criminal trial." "You cannot do this," Garrett's voice cracked. "Those are my children. They are children you abandoned while they were dying. Children you used as leverage in a custody battle. Children whose mother you tried to destroy." Judge Winters leaned forward. "Mr. Ashford, you destroyed yourself." This court simply recognized it. The gavel came down. Case closed. A social worker brought Charlotte and Benjamin to the courthouse an hour later. Meredith dropped to her knees as they entered the room. Both babies were bigger than she remembered. Both reached for her immediately. "Mama," Charlotte's voice. "Mama, I am here." Meredith gathered them into her arms, felt their weight against her chest, breathed in the smell of them. "Mama is here. Mama is never letting go again." She held them for a long time, let herself cry, let herself feel everything she had been suppressing for months. They were safe. They were hers. She had won. Later that evening, Meredith requested a video conference with Garrett. The judge allowed it. He appeared on screen looking broken. Orange jumpsuit, unshaven face, hollow eyes. "What do you want?" His voice was empty. "I want you to know something." Meredith's voice was calm. "Everything that is happening to you, the arrest, the company, your mother, your freedom. I did that. Not Dominic, not lawyers. Me, the woman you called weak, the woman you said was never enough." Garrett said nothing and, "I was always enough. You were just too small to see it." She ended the call, did not look back. Outside the courthouse, Dominic was waiting, not pushing, just present. "You did it." He said, "We did it." She corrected, "All of us." "What happens now?" Now I go home with my children. Now I start rebuilding. Now I figure out who I want to be. Can I be part of that? The question was tentative, respectful. Yes, but slowly, carefully. We have time. He nodded. We have time. Meredith walked to Whitney's car, her babies in her arms. The sun was setting over the city, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson. Behind her, the courthouse stood silent, a monument to justice. Imperfect justice, maybe. Late justice, certainly. But justice nonetheless. She had survived. She had fought. She had won. And the best part, she had done it herself. 1 year later, Meredith stood in the kitchen of a house she had bought with her own money. Not large, not fancy, but hers. Every wall, every window, every inch of space belonged to her and her children alone. Charlotte and Benjamin toddled through the living room, chasing a stuffed elephant between them. 18 months old now, walking, talking, thriving. They had no memory of the night that almost killed them, no memory of the months of chaos and fear. To them, the world was bright and safe and full of adventure. Meredith wanted to keep it that way. Her laptop sat open on the kitchen counter, showing the dashboard for Ashford Consulting, her own company, her own name, because she had decided to keep it. Not Garrett's name anymore. Hers. She had earned it. The business was modest, but growing. 8 steady clients, 3 new prospects, revenue that covered rent and groceries and childcare with a little left over. Not wealthy, comfortable, independent. Her phone buzzed. Theodore Marsh. Final paperwork came through. Garrett got 7 years. He will serve at least 5 before parole. Meredith let the words sink in. 7 years. Her children would be in first grade before Garrett was free. And even then, the restraining order meant he could never come near them without permission. What about Constance, 3 years for conspiracy and fraud, plus 18 months of community service? Her society friends have abandoned her completely. Good. Meredith paused. And Sloan custody of Lillian confirmed. No visitation for Garrett. Child support coming from his seized assets. She is going to be okay. She is going to be okay. Meredith ended the call and looked at her children. Charlotte had claimed the elephant. Benjamin was plotting his revenge. Mama, Charlotte held up the toy. Look, beautiful. Baby girl, you are so good at sharing. Benjamin's face lit up. My turn. Be patient. Sweet boy, your turn is coming. She watched them negotiate in their limited vocabulary. Sharing, taking turns, learning to be human. Every day, they showed her something new, something wonderful. The doorbell rang. Dominic stood on the porch, holding flowers and looking nervous. I know it is not our scheduled day, he said, but I saw these and thought of you. They were not roses, not the generic romantic gesture Garrett would have chosen. They were sunflowers, bright and bold and impossible to ignore. Just like Meredith herself. Come in. They had been dating for 6 months, slow and careful, just as she had requested. He came to dinner twice a week, took the twins to the park on Saturdays. Never pushed for more than she was ready to give. He was in therapy now, for Rosalind, for his control issues, for everything he had been carrying alone for 5 years. They talked about it sometimes, late at night when the children were asleep, sharing wounds, sharing healing. I have been thinking, Meredith said as she put the flowers in water, about what comes next, and I am not ready for marriage. Maybe I will be someday. Maybe not. But I know I am ready to stop waiting for the other shoe to drop, ready to believe that good things can happen and stay happened. Dominic moved closer. I am not going anywhere. I know. That is what scares me. Because you trusted someone before and he destroyed you. Yes, I am not Garrett. I know that too. But knowing and feeling are different things. I am working on it. Then we will keep working on it. Together, he kissed her forehead. Not demanding, not expecting. Just present. Charlotte appeared at their feet, demanding to be picked up. Dominic obliged, swinging her high while she shrieked with delight. Benjamin toddled over, arms raised, unwilling to be left out. My turn, he insisted. Dominic scooped him up too, 1 child in each arm, both laughing. Meredith watched them, This man who had started as a stranger, who had saved her life not because of some romantic notion, but because he knew what it felt like to be alone in the worst moment. They were not a fairy tale. They were something better, something real. Two broken people learning to build something together, one careful day at a time. That evening, after dinner, after baths, after stories, Meredith sat in the doorway of the nursery watching her children sleep. Charlotte had her thumb in her mouth. Benjamin had kicked off his blanket. Again, both were peaceful. Both were safe. She thought about everything that had happened, the night that almost killed her, the betrayal that shattered her world, the months of fighting and losing and fighting again. She thought about the women who had come before her. Victoria, who had not survived. Laura, who was rebuilding slowly in Rhode Island. Rachel, who had finally stopped running. Sloane, who was raising her daughter alone but strong. They had all helped. All contributed to Garrett's downfall. Women supporting women, even when it cost them everything. Meredith pulled out her phone, opened her notes, started writing. Once upon a time, there was a woman who thought she needed saving, but she was wrong. She did not need someone to save her. She needed to remember she could save herself. The words flowed easily. A speech, a story, something to share with other women who found themselves where she had been, broken, betrayed, wondering if they would survive. She would tell them the truth, that survival was possible, that fighting was worth it, that the system was imperfect, but could be wielded like a weapon by those who refused to give up. That despair was not the end. It was the beginning. Her phone buzzed one last time, a reminder she had set for herself months ago. Charlotte and Benjamin's second birthday, 18 months away. Start planning. Meredith smiled. 18 months. Time to save money. Time to plan something wonderful. Time to build memories that would outlast every terrible thing that had come before. She turned off the light, walked to her own bedroom, lay down in a bed she had bought herself, in a house she had earned, in a life she had rebuilt from ashes. People ask me if I am grateful to Dominic for saving my life that night. She thought, and I am. But here is what I had to learn. He did not save me. He gave me a chance. I saved myself. Every day since that night, I have chosen to fight, to rebuild, to become someone Garrett never thought I could be. I am not the woman he married anymore. I am not the woman he tried to destroy. I am the woman who rose from the ashes he left behind. And I am just getting started. She closed her eyes, slept peacefully for the first time in what felt like years. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new victories, new chances to prove that the woman Garrett Ashford had tried to bury was more alive than ever. But that was tomorrow. Tonight, Meredith slept. And in the next room, her children slept too. Safe, loved, protected. A family, imperfect and scarred and absolutely unbreakable.